All right, I had a question from somebody in the community that I thought would be helpful to go over for everyone. So let's check it out. I think it's down here in the weekly Q&A. And Blake asks, could you please discuss how to choose an appropriate brand name and what goes through your head when building a trustworthy brand that may have multiple products on it that are not connected? Additionally, how is a brand different than a company? He goes on to ask if he would create additional brands for each additional product that he launches, or if he would keep all of his products under one brand. Okay, so first off, could you please discuss how to choose an appropriate brand name and what goes through your head when building a trustworthy brand? Let's just stop there. So the first thing that goes through my head when I think about branding is not the product, but the customer. Who is the customer that I want to provide value to, and what will they find valuable and respond to? There's a phrase called customer avatar. If you look that up, you'd probably get a better definition than the one I'm about to give you. But a customer avatar is basically the idealized fictional or imaginary customer who would be the perfect buyer for your product. So, for instance, this is going to include things like gender, age, hobbies, personality traits, favorite colors. Nah, just kidding. But essentially, you're trying to develop as clear an understanding of the actual customer who's going to be buying your product as possible. You want to understand their pain, their problems, their dreams, their desires, their goals, because you're going to be speaking to all of those things, whether directly or indirectly through the branding. So that's what goes through my head when I'm thinking about branding, is not products, but customer avatar. Additionally, how is a brand different than a company? Okay, that one's pretty straightforward. A brand name, or let's just keep this strictly for Amazon. A brand registered brand on Amazon is simply a trademarked logo or word mark. Essentially a name or a design that's been trademarked. I actually have a generic LLC under which I have multiple brand registered brands. So from the legal tax perspective, it's one umbrella LLC, and then I register each trademarked brand name as a DBA that's under that LLC. On Amazon's side, they don't care. You can have multiple brands and multiple brand stores under your one seller central account, which is also what I do. There are some things to consider when doing that. For instance, if you want to sell your brand or your company's, your Amazon business, my understanding is that you would have to sell the whole seller account and all the associated brands. At least that would be the most straightforward way to do it. To attempt to get a brand registered brand and transfer it from one seller central account to another, I imagine is a little bit more challenging. Impossible? No, definitely not impossible, but definitely more challenging. So that's one consideration if you do plan to exit the business. And maybe there is one brand that you really like and you want to keep for forever, and there's another brand that you don't want to keep for forever, you'd rather sell, but they're both under the same seller account. That might create a little bit of a headache for you down the road. But in essence, the company is a legal entity for tax purposes, and a brand is a trademarked piece of intellectual property, essentially, that's owned by a company. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Let's see. What else did he say here? Oh, there was an interesting thing here about selling products that are not connected. That's what I wanted to speak to. So the products must be connected to the customer avatar to be under the same brand. It wouldn't make sense to, for example, try to sell, let's say, backpacking like REI gear to my 97-year-old grandmother. Even though she needs shoes with lots of traction, she does not need Solomon's. She's not a Solomon customer. um, um, so it's the same product in a sense. She wears shoes and they do have a lot of grip on them. But those shoes aren't branded in the same way that Solomon brands their shoes. So why is that? It's because it's not so much the connection between products as it is the connection of each product to the customer avatar. Now, you can zoom in or zoom out on this as much as you want. So you could have a very generic brand name, like, for example, Clorox or something like that, and you make cleaning products of all kinds. And the only connection is that they're all things for people who like to clean, whether they're professional, whether they own a business that cleans, whether they're a stay-at-home mom who cleans. They're all, it's all the same to them. They're just making cleaning products. Or you can dial all the way down and you can make a very specific brand targeting a very specific customer avatar, such as, I don't know, what's a good example? Supreme, let's say, the clothing company. So they're trying to do the streetwear look or aesthetic, or whatever the kids are calling it these days. And they're trying, even though they might have stickers and sweatshirts and beanies, they're trying to brand all those things, all those separate products, so that they still target the same customer avatar. So that's, I guess, how I would think about it. A brand is related to the customer avatar, and each product in that brand should also be connected to that same product, that same customer avatar. And a brand is different from a company because a brand is a trademarked piece of intellectual property that is owned by a company, which is an entity for legal and tax purposes. Okay. Hope that helps, Blake. Thanks for the question. And feel free to follow up with anything else that comes to mind. We'll see you on the next one.